When the boy first saw the girl by the stream, he knew right away she must be the Yoon's great-granddaughter. She was dipping her hand in the stream and splashing the water, as if this stream was something you don't see in Seoul. The girl had been stopping by the stream like this for several days on her way home from school. Yesterday, she had stayed at the edge of the stream, but today she was sitting right in the middle of the stepping stones. The boy sat down on the dike beside the stream. He thought he would watch until the girl had to move aside to let someone pass. It happened that someone did come along and the girl moved away to let the person cross. The next day, he went to the stream a little later. This time, the girl was washing her face and hands as she sat at the middle of the stepping stones. She had pushed up the sleeves of her pink sweater, and her arms and neck looked especially fair. After she had washed for quite a while, she looked intently at the water. Probably she was looking at the reflection of her face. Suddenly, she thrust her hand into the water, as though she was trying to catch a little fish passing. Without any sign that she knew the boy was sitting on the dike, the girl kept splashing the water nimbly with her hands. But as always, she caught nothing. She enjoyed it all the same, though, as she kept catching handfuls of water. It looked as if someone would have to come and cross the stream, or she would never move. After a while, the girl took something out of the water. It was a small white stone. She jumped up and ran spring over the stones to the other side. As soon as she was all the way across, she spun around and facing the stream, she said, "Tommy!" The little stone flew through the air. The boy stood right up without realizing what he was doing. The girl ran hard with her loose short hair flying. She ran to the path between the reed fields. He could see only the shimmering reed tassels in the crisp autumn sunlight. Then it was time for the girl to appear at the far end of the reed fields. It seemed to him that a long time had already passed. Still, the girl did not appear. He stood on tiptoe and looked again, and once more he thought a long time had gone by. Over at the far end of the reed fields, a few of the tassels moved. The girl was holding an armful of reeds. Now she was walking slowly. The crystal clear autumn sunlight glistened on the heads of the reeds the girl was carrying. It looked as if the armful of reeds was walking by itself. The boy stood where he was until the tassels had completely disappeared from view. Suddenly, he looked down and saw the little stone the girl had thrown. He picked it up and put it in his pocket. From the next day on, the boy went down to the stream a little later in the day. No trace of the girl was to be seen. That was lucky. But a strange thing happened. The more days that went by without a glimpse of the girl, the more the boy began to feel a vague emptiness somewhere in a corner of his heart. He found that he was in the habit of fingering the little stone in his pocket. One day, the boy went and tried sitting in the middle of the stepping stones where the girl had sat and splashed her hands in the water. He put his hand in the water. He washed his face and hands. He looked down at the water. The surface faithfully reflected his dark, tanned face. He didn't want to look at it. The boy turned the face in the water with both hands. Repeated this several times. Then suddenly he started and stood straight up. Wasn't that the girl coming this way? She was hiding and watching what I was doing. The boy began to run. He slipped on one of the stepping stones. One foot went in the water. He kept running. If only he could find a place to hide from her. Along this path, there were no reeds, only buckwheat. The fragrance of the buckwheat in bloom was more overpowering than he had ever known it could be. He thought his nose would burst. He began to feel dizzy. A salty liquid ran onto his lips. His nose was bleeding. He wiped away the blood with one hand and kept running. It seemed as though he could hear, "Dummy, dummy," following him as he ran. It was a Saturday. He had not seen the girl for several days, but when he arrived at the stream, she was sitting on the opposite bank, splashing in the water. He began to cross on the stepping stones, pretending not to notice her. He was used to walking on the stones as if they were a wide road, but today he stepped cautiously, even though the slip he had made in front of her the last time had only been a slight misstep. "Hey!" The boy pretended not to hear. He went up and stood on the dike. "Hey, what kind of shell is this?" Without thinking, he turned around. He found himself looking into her clear black eyes. Immediately, he dropped his gaze to the girl's palm. "Satin shell." "Even the name is pretty." They came to the fork in the road. Here, the girl had a few hundred yards to go by the lower road, while the boy would travel 2 or 3 miles on the upper road. Pausing here, the girl pointed to the far edge of a field and asked, "Have you ever been to the other side of that hill?" "No." "Don't you think we should go and look? Here in the country, I'm so bored, I don't know what I'm going to do." "It's pretty far to go." "That depends on what you mean by far. When I was in Seoul, I used to go really far on picnics."